Have you ever bought or...
This is Dave's Video Graveyard with Paulie and Dave.
It is Dave's Video Graveyard YouTube edition. Time for another review. This week, Paulie and I managed to see Solo, a Star Wars story. Kicking things off, we won't get into spoilers yet, but there will be a spoiler-heavy
There will be spoilers
coming up. So, dude, what did you think? This was the least excited I had been for one of the Star Wars extended universe stories.
Yeah, look, I wasn't as excited as Rogue One, but I watched the trailer just shortly before I went and saw the movie, and that sort of pepped me up again. When you actually start watching the movie, it is really one for the extended universe fans. Like, this one's for the uber sort of Star Wars fans. You can still watch it in a pedestrian type way if you're just into just the normal Star Wars, but this is really one for the fans. They go to places we've never been before in the Star Wars universe.
There's a bit of universe building.
Definitely. There's characters that pop up that will be well known to the extended universe fans, and it really sets up some of the stories that we've heard in the last couple of weeks about that there's going to be a Boba Fett film and there's also going to be a Kenobi film. So I like where they're going. I can see they're kind of doing a sort of weird trilogy in themselves with these spin-offs. So yeah, I really dug it. What did you think?
As I said, I was super skeptical. I kind of almost at the point with superhero movies as well, where it's like, oh, for fuck's sake, just give us an original property.
Yep.
Stop leaning on our nostalgia. It harkens back heavily to the Member Berries saga of South Park. Being super skeptical, not necessarily being excited about Richie Cunningham directing, it blew me away. It won me over. I've got to say the fan service was second to none, while at the same time really throwing in some treats, like some new spins and stuff.
I think the fact that they did this and they were very aware that they were going to there's a bunch of websites that were going, oh, they've got a very slow opening weekend, and these are the same websites that were like giving the movie shit for changing directors. Made a huge deal about the fact that
it's been reshot from the ground up.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, well, maybe it wouldn't have such a slow weekend if websites like you didn't fuck with the movie in the first place. So, and with the whole thing of like a lot of people comparing Star Wars and the Marvel universes. Remember, there was a time, kids, where we didn't have this stuff. Like, we didn't have, we could only wonder what would the Star Wars universe and the Marvel universe, and now we're getting like, we had a Black Panther.
We had fucking Battle for Endor and Caravan of Courage.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up, kiddies.
So, like, give me as many Star Wars spin-offs as you can get, and like, I don't care if it's not going to gross the same as Infinity War, but like, it's still going to get over the line and give us some more extended universe Star Wars, and I'm in for it. I'm along every step of the way. You know what?
Give me a spin-off film for every single one of the bounty hunters in Empire Strikes Back.
And they make reference to Bosk in this.
Yep.
Like, I mean, that's a deep cut, kids.
Give me a spin-off of the likes of everyone in Jabba the Hutt's palace. Old mate in Cloud City with the fucked up headbands that talks to Lando Calrissian's wristband.
I have a book at home that goes into at least 6 of the bounty hunters' backstories. And I was...
Bring it.
Look, I mean, like, they're interesting. Like, if you really wanted to get into the meat of, like, the Star Wars universe, it's kind of cool. Like, and I think solely, if it did nothing else, it did, it showed that they're willing to take a risk, and not, they've got everything to make it a big blockbuster, but they're also willing to go, look, this is as small as we can get within the Star Wars universe as well.
Visually, I went into Rogue One being a little bit skeptical. I'm like, it's not going to feel as big on a scale, but we saw new planets, we saw new environments,
a lot of planets
at once. We saw so many things, and it really built the world. So does Solo. My biggest skepticism going into this film was probably the casting. I genuinely didn't think it's Alden Ehrenreich.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I did not think he looked like Han Solo in the posters. It had that uncanny valley Photoshop thing going on. Second he was on screen, about 2 seconds later I was over it. He is young Han Solo. One thing in particular, you may have picked up on this. There is one scene where he's basically going to lecture Woody Harrelson's character.
Yep.
And he starts doing the finger point, but then gets stopped.
Yep.
It was some of the best physicality of basically imitating Harrison Ford I've seen. And it blew me away.
At the start of that movie, he's running through Corellia, and like he's got the swagger. Like the holster hangs on his hip like Han Solo does in the movies. They've done really well with like the nuances of Harrison Ford and what he did, and like I know it's like it might seem like we're sort of nerding out and picking it, but like if you're gonna be the original, like if you're gonna be like the origin story, you need to be that, and he does it so well. Like,
you have to give it a reason. You need a reason for this film to exist. You can't just say, "Look, hey kids, here's Han Solo. Give us some money." We'll still give you money, but you've got to give us a reason to. And it was great. One thing I will say, and this comes down to Ron Howard, has spent a lot of years living in a backpack on George Lucas's back for a fair bit. There was a few bits that were very Lucas-like in their unsubtlety when it come to character building.
Okay, yeah.
Similar to the prequel trilogy, I found we don't have to find out everything. We don't need a laundry list of why Han Solo is Han Solo. I just felt some of it was too on the nose.
Well, I do know that he talked to Lucas before doing this, like, and he probably should have talked to Abrams instead, which I'm sure he did as well. But I think, there is like it does have a different feel to Force Awakens and Last Jedi, and like that's cool because like Last Jedi had a different feel to Force Awakens. Like it's good that every director within this universe is still having their say on or their particular style on the subject matter. So
it is driving me crazy holding back. So moving forward from this point, we're going to talk about
massive. Let's talk about Wookiees first.
Alright.
We'll talk about Wookiees, then we'll get to your big.
We get a bit of Wookiee universe building, which was fantastic.
Look, I love the fact that like there was we finally bumped into other Wookiees too. Like one of the
not
best,
CGI Wookiees.
But one of the best parts about episode 3 that I love is the bit on Kashyyyk. Like I love like that entire bit, and you can see like, well, we'll go into like the the big payoff at the end, but like that's when you start seeing like these the extended universe sort of melding in with what's already been. So go on, tell them what the big one is.
All right, mofuckers. Before we go ahead, here's a massive spoiler warning from this point onwards. If you haven't seen the film yet, I urge you, even if you're not a Star Wars fan, don't watch any further. Go and watch one of our other videos. They're right up here or down here, depending what you're watching it on. Just check out one of our other videos. If you have seen it, you know where we're at. So one of the biggest parts of the movie towards the end, we find out that Darth Maul is still alive in canon. And so that ties it back to the cartoon, or the animated.
Well, yeah, so this Star Wars Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels is, I can't believe that they did this. Like, this is, that's not a bad thing. Like, they are literally going for like very obscure references to these cartoons that, like, all these animated shows that not many people have seen.
Because Saw Gerrera was the last bridge that we saw between the film canon and the animated and series. So it was fantastic. And it's fucking Darth Maul. The coolest part of the prequel trilogy, in my opinion, that wasn't Ewan McGregor, was Darth Maul. So it was awesome to see him as a part of it. Let's go back basically to the beginning of the film and we'll walk our way through with some spoilers.
Cool. Yep.
We open up Han Solo on his home planet with his lady friend. They basically
looked really good.
It did look fantastic. Now, one thing, back to what you were saying about J.J. Abrams. I feel like J.J. Abrams was given Star Trek before Star Wars, and that almost hampered Han Solo because, in my opinion, in the first Star Trek movie that he did, he created Han Solo as Captain Kirk.
Pretty much.
So you get pretty much the backstory of Captain Kirk was pretty much turning him into Han Solo.
Yeah, and like and I did find the first sort of what was the name? There was like the big sort of caterpillars.
Oh, the big giant penis chest burster legs McGillicuddy.
And it was just like this is like this movie's bold. Okay, so because it does that sort of stuff, and it's like we're in this universe of all these unmeasurable universes and aliens, lots of stuff. Of course, like you got a big penisy caterpillar or whatever you should mouth face hugger.
Penis chest burster.
There you go. Sorry. I that was my first thing of like, where's this going sort of thing. But it worked really well.
And it sounded like the junkyard lady from the end of Labyrinth.
Yeah,
it was that kind of voice. It has so many flavours of Lucas, which come through from Howard's directing and feel. There was some fantastical musical cues that really, really tied it to the original trilogy. When it comes to spoilers and whatnot, we get... Now, how did you feel about the social commentary that is... There's basically a droid that is quite empowered, almost portrayed as a feminist.
Yep.
And that's kind of almost a dig at the world that we live in right now. I thought it was fantastically handled.
Yeah.
I really loved learning more about Lando Calrissian, and Donald Glover is one of the greatest chameleons, because every time he opens his mouth in this film, I honestly thought I was going to be hearing Troy from Community. Not a fact. He sounds like Billy D. Williams, straight up.
He's got his like the inflections on his voice and everything. Like it's just like there's special. You can just hear it. Like he's done so well to replicate some of like those mannerisms, and I really like the character. I've always wondered how he lost the ship.
Yeah.
And you find out how he loses in the Millennium Falcon in it. Falcon, sorry, that's what. But then even like the back and forth with Chewbacca and him, and also Chewbacca and Han Solo in this. This is like building that, so when you get to see him in Empire Strikes Back, like you feel it, like that's there is some history there, and now it's being filled in, and like I'm happy with that.
Now, for saying that, every step that I feel we got in the right direction when it comes to tying it into the lore of the story, there was also a few things that were a little bit unnecessarily on the nose for me. One being Han Solo, to escape from his planet, he decides there's like a Starship Troopers type, join the army little area where he's escaping. So he goes in and enlists in the Empire, and while he's there, he gets asked his name, which he says his name's Han, and the guy that's entering all these details into the computer says, "And what's your last name?" He says, "I basically don't have one." Yep. He says, "So who are your people?" He says, "I don't know who my people is." So the guy goes, Han Solo?
Yeah.
This is about 5 minutes into the film, I was ready to go. I was like, I wish I didn't buy this big popcorn, because now I'm going to go. But for every one of those, we get a little bit of subtlety, and it really works, especially for Star Wars fans. But that's not the only one. I was almost expecting... They tick off a list of why Han Solo's Han Solo.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we got with Revenge of the Sith, because it was like, here's how Darth Vader got this, here's how... And so this is basically, here's how Han got his blaster.
Yep.
Here's how Han got his name. Here's how Han got the Millennium Falcon. You could have left it. We didn't need all of it in the one film. I almost felt like there was going to be a scene where it's like, we're sneaking into this area, and you cannot get in unless you're wearing a vest. It's like, oh, that's how he got his vest.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't go that far and like put him in his like the costume you see him in when you first see him, sort of thing. So in New Hope,
Woody Harrelson disguised as a bodyguard, wearing the basically the guard outfit from Return of the Jedi.
Yes.
That Lando Calrissian wears.
Oh, so
that was nerd Star Wars boner.
Yeah. And I remember sort of elbowing my wife. I was like, oh, look at this.
Well, that's it, and that's the thing. So many things that like I took my kids to see it because they love the Star Wars prequels, like Paulie does. I took them to see it, and honestly, there was so many things were like, Dad, look! And I was like, I know. I was quite skeptical as well, because at the beginning of the film, we get treated to an almost somewhere between Rogue One score and the traditional trilogy score.
Yep.
I was like, oh, maybe that's the standalone film thing they're going to do now with the extended universe, not use John Williams' score, but no, they did. They tied it all together in this weird... Who did the music for it, do you know?
I'm not sure, but like they definitely used the cues, like if there's a bit where they go, they're sort of escaping from a Star Destroyer. That bit when the lightning lights up the Star Destroyer.
Dude.
But there's a bit like, so the musical cues from the asteroid chase in Empire are used. There's a few from Jedi, I think they use as well.
Pretty much anything in the original trilogy where the Millennium Falcon gets away from something.
But they also did that in Last Jedi too, I think I mentioned on the radio show. Like just towards the end there when they're on the Salt planet, you see him go through all the trenches. It harkens back to like Return of the Jedi, and like I like those little cues. Like it's a good nod. So
definitely, we see that 3 years into being in the Empire, Han Solo is actually pretty much on the battle, like the front lines, which is the first time. Like we obviously got the battle on Hoth and a few different things throughout the trilogy. This was the first one that felt like a war movie in this segment.
Yeah.
There was such a cool thing, and we're introduced to Woody Harrelson in like Woody Harrelson-esque way. He's spinning guns. He's basically a cowboy, and they're a bunch of scoundrels that are stealing things from the Empire to carry out heists.
Yep.
Now, the best way I would sum up these films, personally, I'm sure you would probably agree, Rogue One was a dramatic heist Star Wars film.
Yep.
This is an action heist movie.
Almost like a Western.
I was I was watching this film and I was casting the lead in a prequel Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
It would be so amazing. So get on that, guys.
The train scene in this film, like the go into like
It made me think of the River Phoenix section of Last Crusade. And that, I think that comes to... One thing I love is obviously J.J. Abrams brought the trilogies forward into a new era, paying homage to the original, bringing his own new flavour. This comes from someone, being Ron Howard, that knows where Lucas is coming from, knows the Spielberg style of filming. So he brings like a perfect imitation.
Yeah, I can say that.
While at the same time ticking all the boxes of the new trilogies. What else were some of the fantastic bits that really stood out? I'm just trying to think of my Star Wars bonus stood up several times.
So when he is on this planet that the war's going on, he gets arrested for desertion, and they say put him in with the Beast, and
which pretty much calls back to the Rancor pit of Return of the Jedi, which we see a human that has been a human life form has been eaten by this beast in the pit. There's bones everywhere, so whatever's in this pit has been eating humans for a while. At which point the creature comes out of the mud, and it is Chewbacca. At which point Han Solo and Chewbacca have quite a violent fight, and it is everything you'd want it to be and more.
And then just by luck, Han knows Wookiee language, and that's how he starts.
That was a bit on the nose for me. Having the actor actually voice the Wookiee lines, because at no point do they explain that Chewbacca knows English, because he's not responding to any English. It's not until Han talks Wookiee that he responds. And at that point I was just like, but sadly, if it had come out a month earlier before Avengers Infinity War, which actually featured Thor talking Groot.
Right.
And that's like a plot point, which sadly it's almost an imitation, which it wouldn't have been because there's no way it possibly timeline-wise could have ripped that off. But I just thought that was fantastic. They escaped together and were treated to we get the dynamic of Chewie and Han Solo.
Almost immediately too, like
which I like that because they both have like, not a love-hate, but they both know their roles in the relationship without necessarily like establishing rules of the relationship.
And this is the thing, like the problem that this movie was always going to face is that the future is written. So like there's no surprise. Like, you know what's going to eventually happen to these people. So like, and I'm like, but there was times where I'm like, I wonder how they're sort of going to get out of this. And it's like, I know how they're going to get out of it. Like, but like, it didn't dull the ride for me knowing where this was going.
Well, there's actually one cliffhanger bit, which I've talked about this on the radio show, which you can check out Monday nights from 8 p.m. Australian Central Standard Time, wowfm.org/listen. But moving on from there, one bit that really just didn't make sense to me, and this is just me being an old arsehole, showing the trailer have Chewbacca hanging out the side of the train about to hit a giant rock that will kill him. Yeah. How's that going to end? Please tell.
Do you know the one bit that, apart from the solo, the him naming him Solo, just before that, the Empire is doing this recruitment drive, so there's like a film playing in the background. They're using the Imperial March in the soundtrack of the movie, which is like pretty meta. And I was just like, that's just, to me, like, out of all the film, like towards the end, like, when we got out, my wife was like, oh, is there anything you didn't like? I'm like, why would they use the Imperial March?
I thought that as well. It almost went down the path of being like, when Han Solo's reunited with his long-lost love, I almost felt like it could have gone down that same path and been like, where have you been? He's like, I've been fighting the Star Wars. It's like, don't.
Actually, the one, and if I'm going to nitpick again.
And that's Turkey Neck's fault. I blame that on George Lucas. I don't know how, but fuck you, George.
I'm alright with George.
He really liked American Graffiti heaps.
There's a bit too, when they do get reunited together, they don't really seem that sort of chuffed about it. Like, and I'm assuming like they're trying to sort of maybe play to the fact that Amelia Clarke, who plays Kira in this, obviously has had like a tumultuous 2 years.
3 years. 3 years Han's been on the battlefront of the Empire, and for 3 years Amelia Clarke has been a Sith apprentice. So
and having to hang out with Paul Bettany. So
Paul Bettany's fantastic, if not forgettable, in this film. One thing I do love is his luxury yacht he lives in has a lot of collectibles, including full Mandalorian armor in the background, which I could not concentrate every time it was on screen because my Boba Fett bonus stood up on the side of my head like an antenna.
And this is when the insane marketing of Disney is really in full swing, because they knew, I mean, obviously they knew years before, months before, like what was going to happen. Like, Boba Fett comes out of this. These movies are going to be linked, and obviously the Obi-Wan Kenobi movie as well. And just to show these like little bits and pieces. Like,
so there's the Mandalorian armor.
Yeah, and when we wear the Mandalorian flag in Force Awakens 2, which is kind of like a like, it didn't really mean anything at all. It was just them going into that temple and just happened to have like a bunch of flags. But like this means something now. We're going to go into all sorts of different bounty hunter lore, and I'm happy about it because like,
bring it
more
on.
bounty hunters.
Definitely.
RG-88 the movie.
I want a Twin Jets of Destruction film, which is basically about Boba Fett and his twin brother. Bring that shit on. There was just so much that I loved about this, and like I say, I was at that point of just being over Star Wars for a bit. I was like, I loved Rogue One, but at the same time, didn't need it. Didn't need this, but found out I did. Woody Harrelson is fantastic. He plays almost a hero and a somewhat of a mentor of Han Solo. We see Han Solo copy his style, pretty much steal his belt. And I think it might be part of being a scoundrel, because we see in Empire that Lando Calrissian just straight up steals Han Solo's clothes. Which the Lando we see in this film straight up would not steal anything off of any peasants, because he is a pimp.
I love that bit where they're in the Millennium Falcon and they go through his robes, like his capes is like, and they say, how many capes is it? And it's like, more than one.
Probably two. So the other main thing I wanted to say in this movie is Darth Maul's fucking alive in the movie. That is sick.
I'm just going to be sort of controversial, especially to you, but like, cool. We'll see where it goes from here.
Now, will this be? Are they still doing a solo trilogy?
I assume so. Like, I mean, they'll be stupid not to.
I've got $10 a time Australian for that to happen. Kids, prediction, kids, collectors, no one wants this Millennium Falcon without the front cut out bit. You can stick that up your dick.
I think from now, like you'll obviously see the Boba Fett and the Kenobi. You'll see some more Solo, and I think they'll keep this going. Like I give us as much as we can get. Like that. That's basically my thing.
Don't have to tie it all to what's happening ahead. We also find in this that Han Solo is a big catalyst in starting the rebellion.
Yep.
That was a little bit on the nose to me, but at the same time, it's no different than the way they tie 3PO and R2-D2, who I could be wrong, but I thought I saw R2-D2 in the background of a couple of the shots. And I'm pretty sure when they're playing the card game to begin with, pretty sure Boba Fett is actually in that building.
Okay.
I could see, well, you can see the Mandalorian helmet, and I don't know if it'll turn out. This is one for the Blu-rays, this film, similar to the likes of Ready Player One.
Yep.
There's going to be so much picked up later days, enough for many, a Watch Mojo list on YouTube.
Yeah, definitely. So definitely go out and see it. If you're just if you're a Star Wars fan, definitely see it. But if you're just wanting to get a bit more into the folklore, definitely see it. Like, because this is a universe building.
It's at the same time, it's a must see, and it doesn't matter if you don't see for Star Wars fans. But I'm sure all Star Wars fans are going to take the pun. Getting at that oversaturated Disney point now with superheroes and Star Wars. So I'm quite interested to see how we'll go moving forward.
Yeah, my only thing that's come from this film is that I'm worried about Kenobi when it comes out. How they're gonna because when we first meet him in A New Hope, he seems quite like he doesn't really remember the droids and lots of stuff. And like how they're gonna tie that in. So,
but then we also get treated to from the computer generated series. We get to see Obi-Wan Kenobi kill. We get to see Obi-Wan Kenobi kill Kylo Ren, I'm having one of those nights. We get to see Obi-Wan Kenobi finally meet up with and kill Darth Maul properly. And the best thing about it is it's a mirror of the scene with Qui-Gon Jinn, and he learns that the hilt smash is the point at when he wins, and so he counters that, and it ends up pretty much that finishes where A New Hope begins. Very similar timeline to Rogue One.
Yep.
What would you give this film out of the very comprehensive scale of 19 that is Dave's Video Graveyard?
I'll give it 16. Like it's not. I mean, it's got its flaws, but like I mean, most films do, and it's just made me want to sort of get back into the Episode 1 Star Wars Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, which I think everyone, if you're into Star Wars, dig them.
They are using one thing I love about the Star Wars franchise. They are making new films like they did with Rogue One. They're just like they did with Rebels and the Clone Wars. They are fixing their own timeline without rebooting. The Clone Wars to me fixed so many issues I had with the prequel trilogies.
It's basically recommended viewing to watch. If you watch the prequels and you got a problem with them, watch the Clone Wars. And I know that.
And as the biggest skeptic of the of the prequel trilogy, definitely must be done.
Yeah, I mean, yes, movies should stand by own, but sometimes they need a little help, and this is the best help. So yeah, definitely check them out.
So I give this film a 16 for the film and a 1 for Donald Glover. So that takes it up to, I'm not sure, but it's more than 15. Guys, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube here. We're only just starting out, so if you don't like the content, you can always go and sniff a dick. But if you do like it, please subscribe, maybe leave a comment, and you can check us out every week on Adelaide's 100.5 WOWFM. If you're not in Adelaide, the best thing to do is every Monday night from 8 Central Standard Time, jump on to wowfm.org/listen. Paulie, what else we got coming up?
We got a few of our podcasts coming up. We've looking at Resident Evil. We're looking at Double Dragon.
Terrible movie. Spoiler alert, guys.
The podcast is definitely sort of coming along, and we'll. I think we're looking for a launch in July. So if you want to know if you keep watching this space, July.
That's it, guys. Until next time, I'm Dave.
I'm Paul.
And this is Dave's Video Graveyard.